I didn't expect the coffee shop to feel so empty that morning. Not in the sense of space. Every table was filled, every chair occupied, but the kind of emptiness that hums just under the noise. Cups clinking, laptops opening, conversations tumbling over each other. I heard all of it, but none of it seemed to touch me. I'd been sitting in the same corner for weeks, a seat by the window where the light comes in too sharp around 10. I usually stay anyway, scrolling through half-written drafts, typing words I delete 2 seconds later. The barista knows me by now. Knows I take my coffee black, but not bitter. Knows I let it sit too long before drinking it, until it's gone lukewarm. That morning, though, it wasn't the barista who called my name. It was her. Her voice carried softer than I expected, though it still reached me through the mess of sounds. She was holding the cup with my name written in shaky marker, looking right at me, almost like she wanted to make sure I'd notice. Mid-40s, maybe more, though the word mid felt too small for her. She wore her age like someone who didn't need to argue with it. I hesitated before standing up. She tilted her head slightly, waiting, as if my delay had already told her something about me. "You left this yesterday," she said when I reached her. She was holding not just my coffee but the book I'd abandoned, a dog-eared paperback I hadn't really cared about, but had carried around to look busy. "You kept it?" I asked. She shrugged, handing it over. "Didn't seem right tossing it. Besides, the underlines looked deliberate." I almost laughed. They weren't deliberate at all. I underlined when my pen slipped. But I didn't correct her. Instead, I noticed the way her hand lingered just a second too long when passing the book. The way she half smiled without showing her teeth. The kind of smile that wasn't for everyone, just for the person standing in front of her. I sat back down, pretending to scroll again. But the coffee stayed untouched, the book unopened. My eyes kept finding their way back to her, at the counter, tapping her finger against the wood, waiting for her own drink. The faint rhythm of it, like a song only she could hear. She caught me staring once. Didn't look away, didn't frown. Just raised an eyebrow, as though testing how long I'd hold. I lasted maybe 2 seconds before retreating to the safe glow of my screen. That should have been the end of it, a moment, then nothing. But when she passed by my table on her way out, she stopped. Just a small pause, not long enough for anyone else to notice. She set down her thermos, stainless steel, worn at the edges, next to my untouched cup. "You'll want to drink that before it gets cold," she said, nodding at my coffee. Then, almost as an afterthought, she added, "The book's better on the second read." And just like that, she left. I thought about her all day. Thought about the way she didn't ask, didn't explain, didn't wait for me to answer. That night, when I opened my phone to send another unsent text to no one, there was a new notification waiting. A message from an unknown number. It was short. Just 3 words. "Stay with us." I didn't reply to the message. Not right away. I must have stared at it for an hour, trying to convince myself it wasn't meant for me. Stay with us. Us who? Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe she had the wrong number. But the next morning, when I walked into the coffee shop, she was there again. Same table as yesterday. Same thermos at her side. She looked up before I even ordered, as though she'd been waiting for my arrival, though she didn't wave, didn't smile, just acknowledged me with a glance, enough to make the air shift. I almost didn't go over. I almost kept to my corner. But my legs betrayed me. "You sent me a text," I said quietly, standing beside her. Her eyes flickered. "Did I?" She reached into her bag, pulled out her phone, and scrolled with deliberate slowness. Then she tilted the screen toward me. My name wasn't there. No message history at all. "Strange," she murmured, though I thought I saw the corner of her mouth twitch, just slightly. I should have walked away. Instead, I sat down across from her, uninvited. She didn't stop me. For a while, neither of us spoke. She sipped her tea. I folded the napkin in front of me into uneven squares. The silence felt heavier than words. Finally, she said, "I used to come here with my husband." Every Thursday morning. She didn't look at me when she said it, eyes fixed instead on the steam rising from her cup. It became our place. Until it wasn't. I didn't ask what happened. I didn't need to. The absence in her tone explained enough. My friends say I should stop coming here. She went on, softer. That I should find somewhere else, make new routines. She paused, then set her cup down carefully. But I don't think habits die that easily. I swallowed. Maybe they're not supposed to. Her eyes flicked toward me, sharper than before. Like she wanted to read what I meant but wasn't sure if she wanted to know the answer. I could feel the weight of what wasn't being said between us. The age. The gap. The way anyone walking by would tilt their head, wondering who I was, why I was sitting with her, why I seemed too young to be anything but out of place. For a second, I imagined what it might look like if we were seen together outside this cafe, in some other setting. A dinner. A walk. The thought made me shift in my seat, but I didn't move away. Her hand brushed the table's edge close to mine. Not touching. Just near enough to notice. Your coffee, she said, nodding at the cup I hadn't touched. You're letting it go cold again. I smiled, faint, more to myself than to her. Maybe I like it that way. This time, she did smile back. A real one. Quick, fleeting. But it landed like a secret I wasn't supposed to keep. I don't know why that moment stayed with me. Maybe because it felt like someone finally saw me. The next week, she wasn't there. I told myself it didn't matter. That I was just another customer, that she owed me nothing. But when I sat at my corner table, the absence pressed down harder than her presence ever had. I kept glancing at the door, pretending to read the same sentence over and over. By the third day, I almost gave up. Then she walked in. No apology, no explanation. Just slid into the chair across from me like she'd always belonged there. She set down her thermos, folded her scarf, and finally looked at me. You were waiting, she said. Not a question. I wanted to deny it, but the truth was written all over me. So I stayed quiet. She stirred sugar into her tea she'd never drink. 1, 2, 3 turns of the spoon. I watched her hand, the steadiness of it, the way she focused on anything but me. You shouldn't, she said finally. Whatever you think this is, you shouldn't. I tried to laugh, but it came out too thin. Think what? Her eyes met mine, sharp, unblinking. For a second, I thought she'd say it. Name it. But she didn't. She looked past me instead, toward the window. That was when someone I knew walked in. A friend from class, loud, familiar, dragging sunlight with him. He spotted me immediately, called my name across the room. I froze. She did too. Her hands stilled around her cup. When he reached our table, she leaned back, creating space. I could feel the shift, how quickly she folded herself into neutrality, just another woman at just another cafe table. Didn't know you had company, my friend said, smirking like he wanted me to explain. She was just leaving, I heard myself say. Her silence cut sharper than any words could. She stood slowly, gathering her scarf with deliberate care. Enjoy your coffee, she murmured, not looking at me, not looking at him. Then she was gone. I sat through my friend's chatter, nodding at all the wrong times, not hearing a word. The chair across from me felt heavier now that it was empty. That night, I walked past her house. I don't know why. The porch light was on, a warm square against the dark. Through the window, I could see her moving, setting down plates, adjusting something on a shelf. Ordinary things, but I stood there too long, pretending I wasn't waiting for her to notice. And then she did. She turned, saw me through the glass. Our eyes locked. Neither of us moved for a beat that felt stretched thin. I should have stepped away. She should have turned off the light. Instead, she came closer to the window, hand resting on the frame. Just standing there, not opening it, not waving. The space between us felt like it was about to break. Like if I stayed 1 second longer, something would happen that couldn't be undone. But I left. Too quickly, too abruptly. Still, Her reflection stayed with me the whole walk home, the way she had leaned closer, as if she might have let me it happened after the rain. The air smelled sharp, clean, the pavement still wet enough to shine under the street lamps. She was outside her house when I passed, locking her gate, shaking drops from her umbrella. She looked up, saw me hesitate on the sidewalk. "You walk late," she said. "Couldn't sleep." Her umbrella clicked shut. For a second, she looked like she might send me on my way. But then she nodded toward the bench by her gate. The wood was damp, but she sat anyway, smoothing her skirt, not minding the cold. I sat too, careful not to let our shoulders touch. We stayed like that a while, listening to water dripping from the trees, the hush of passing cars. Finally she said, "You shouldn't come here at night." Her voice wasn't scolding. It was softer than that, but heavier too. "Why?" I asked. She looked down at her hands, fingers tracing the edge of her umbrella handle. "Because it makes me wonder. And I can't afford to wonder." I swallowed hard. "About what?" The question lingered. She didn't answer right away, and in the silence, I thought I'd pushed too far. But then she exhaled, a shaky sound I'd never heard from her before. "About what I'm doing. Sitting here. Talking to someone who should be anywhere else." She shook her head slightly. "Do you know how it looks?" I nodded, though I didn't. Not really. I only knew how it felt. "I'm not," I started, then stopped. The words felt too heavy. "I don't care how it looks." That made her glance at me, quick, sharp. Like she was trying to measure how much I meant it. I looked away. My reflection swam in a puddle by my feet, rippling every time a drop fell. I thought about all the times I'd almost said something and didn't. How my silence had become its own answer. "Someone saw us," she said suddenly. Her voice lower now. "The other day. When I was here with you." My chest tightened. "Does it matter?" "It shouldn't." Her hands tightened around the umbrella. "But it does." Her honesty cut through me, raw, unguarded. For once, she wasn't careful. And that made it worse, because it sounded like truth. I turned toward her, words rising before I could stop them. She looked up then, eyes locking with mine, and whatever I was about to say stuck in my throat. Her breath hitched, faint but there. The air between us felt charged, unbearably fragile. A single move would tip it. Her hand shifted slightly, resting on the bench between us. Not touching, but close enough that I could feel the warmth. The silence stretched. Then she whispered, almost to herself, "What do you think this is?" The next morning, she wasn't at the cafe. I sat through 2 coffees, one gone cold, the other untouched. Checked the door each time it opened. But she didn't come. The day after that, the same. And the day after that. It wasn't just absence. It was deliberate absence. I told myself she was busy, that her routine had shifted. But routines don't just disappear overnight. Not hers. Not after what she'd said. On the 4th day, I walked past her house again. Porch light on. Curtains drawn. A shadow moved across the window, hers, I was sure. I almost knocked. My hand even rose halfway to the gate. But I stopped. Because if she wanted me there, I'd already be inside. The silence stretched for nearly a week before I saw her again. Not at the cafe. At the grocery store. I was at the self-checkout when she walked by, basket hooked over her arm, face unreadable. For a second, our eyes caught. I opened my mouth, but she turned first. Nodded a polite hello, nothing more, and moved on. It felt like a door shutting. Quietly, but with intent. That night, restless, I found myself scrolling through old messages on my phone. The one she'd sent weeks ago, "Stay with us," still there. I stared at it like maybe it would explain itself. Then, by accident, I discovered the truth. Her name popped up on a neighborhood thread. Not her words, but someone else's, a passing comment. "She's been handling things alone since the divorce. Her daughter just came back from university, must be hard adjusting." I read it twice. daughter. University. And suddenly it made sense. The pause in her voice. The way she pulled back after my friend saw us. The guilt she couldn't name. She wasn't just protecting herself. She was protecting someone else. The next time I saw her, it was back at the cafe. She didn't sit. She just ordered her drink, waited, and left. But as she passed me, she slowed, just enough to let the silence stretch between us. Her hand brushed the strap of her bag like she wanted to reach for something, maybe a word, maybe me. But nothing came. I didn't stop her. I didn't follow. Back at my table, I pulled out my phone. Typed out a message. I don't care how it looks. I just want to see you. My thumb hovered over send. Seconds ticked. The screen dimmed. I didn't send it. I didn't feel heartbroken. I felt paused. Like life forgot to finish the sentence that it was late when it happened. I'd been walking again, same street, same pull I couldn't explain away. Her porch light was on, but dimmer than usual, like even it was tired of waiting. I stood at the gate too long before I finally knocked. The door opened slower than I expected. She didn't look surprised to see me, more resigned, like she'd already rehearsed this moment in her head. "You shouldn't be here," she said. "I know." But I stayed. She stepped back eventually, letting me in. The house was quiet. Too quiet for two people to pretend nothing was happening. The kitchen smelled faintly of tea leaves and something left cooling on the counter. She leaned against the sink, arms folded, as if that might shield her from me. I didn't sit. Couldn't. My hands kept shifting, in my pockets, out again, brushing the edge of the counter. Every movement felt clumsy. Finally I said, "I kept waiting. For you. At the cafe." Her eyes flicked to mine, then away. "I know. Why'd you stop?" She pressed her lips together, then let out a breath. "Because someone saw us. Because my daughter asked questions I wasn't ready to answer. Because—" she shook her head. "Because it's easier to vanish than explain what I can't explain." The words landed heavy. Not cruel, just real. I wanted to argue, to tell her none of it mattered, that I didn't care who saw, who whispered. But the truth was I did care. And she knew that. So instead I said, "You don't have to explain anything. Not to them. Not to me." Her laugh was short, almost bitter. "That's the problem. I do." Silence stretched between us. She reached for the kettle, poured water into a cup she didn't drink from. I watched the steam rise, vanish. My chest tightened with the weight of everything unsaid. Finally I blurted it out, too fast, too raw. "I don't want this to end without you knowing that I stopped." Couldn't finish. Her hands stilled around the cup. She didn't look up right away. When she did, her eyes were sharp but softer too, like she was tired of carrying something alone. "I know," she said. 2 words. Quiet, steady. And enough. The kitchen clock ticked. A car passed outside. Neither of us moved closer, but something between us did. She set the cup down, pushed it gently toward me. Not an invitation, not a promise. Just a gesture, something to hold on to. I took it, fingers brushing the rim where hers had been. She gave a small, tired smile, the kind that doesn't light up a room but lights up the person standing in front of you. "Okay," she whispered. And for the first time, it felt like the silence wasn't breaking us. It was keeping us there, together. It didn't change overnight. The next morning, she wasn't suddenly waiting at my table. I didn't start knocking on her door every evening. It was quieter than that. Smaller. A shift so gradual I almost missed it. But weeks later the patterns had changed. Not erased, changed. I still went to the cafe at 8:47, the time the light hit the window too sharp. She stopped by sometimes, not every day, never predictable. Sometimes she sat across from me. Sometimes she just left her thermos by my cup, like a private signal only we understood. The bench by her gate became ours, in an unspoken way. We sat there after rain, after long days, not saying much. just listening to the world go on without needing to keep up with it. Her daughter passed me once, coming home from class. We exchanged polite nods, nothing more. But she didn't ask questions. Or maybe she did later, in private. Whatever the case, the house lights stayed on for me. That was answer enough. There were still pauses. Still moments when she pulled back, cautious. Times when I wondered if she'd vanish again. But the difference was, now, she always returned. And each return felt like something earned. I started drinking my coffee warm, not cold. She noticed first, raising an eyebrow. Growing up, she teased, though her voice held more warmth than humor. I let the comment linger between us, not answering, just smiling. One night she poured tea for both of us in her kitchen. She handed me the chipped mug, kept the smooth one for herself. No declarations, no need to say what it meant. Just 2 cups, 2 hands, 2 people who had run out of reasons to keep pretending they weren't choosing this. I didn't feel the need to put words to it. Neither did she. It wasn't about explaining anymore. It was about showing up, sitting down, and staying when silence stretched. Life didn't turn cinematic. She still carried her past. I still carried mine. Some nights were heavy, some mornings empty. But then there were the small anchors. Her scarf draped over the chair in my corner, my book left on her counter, the sound of her kettle filling the gaps in my sentences. I think that's what made it real. Not the moments we almost broke, but the ones where we simply didn't. Now, whenever I sit on that bench with her, damp wood under us, the porch light humming above, I catch myself thinking back to the very first pause, the coffee cooling untouched, her voice reminding me to drink before it got cold. And somehow, that's still what we are. A reminder. A pause. A choice to stay. I don't know if anyone else would understand it. But I think she would. And maybe that's enough. Sparkle's engagement close. Did this story stay with you? What kind of quiet, real love stories do you want to hear next?